Though very reserved in the classroom, Danny considered her life to be quite a thrill as she illustrated in her personal logo. She also made the word thrilling her theme on her final presentation. Her personal mission statement showed how important her current and future family were to her. I was able to hear several stories of her appreciation for her parents during a few of our conversations. In class, she had little or no participation. For every assignment, she did the bare minimum, saying several times to me and other teachers that she didn't want to or have to do it. She always did almost exactly what was required. This led to her final grade of a B-. Not exceptional, but the very minimum to get by. In this video, you can see that she starts, ready for the activity, as her friend gets up with her. She follows wherever her friend goes, not really making a decision on her own. As the activity goes on and her friend stops being interested, Danny obviously follows in her friend's lack of enthusiasm. This process went similarly during every activity that was done in class. Danny might have had a hard time talking with peers other than her friends, but she was very comfortable talking with the adults and teachers in the classroom when she was one-on-one or even in a small group. However, public speaking was still an issue. When called on to answer a question in class, she would answer, "I don't know." This happened in several different lessons during the semester. Danny did really well orally, as we'll discuss later, but her written language needed a little work. Even when she was asked to do so, she still found it difficult to write in full sentences. Similarly, her spelling was decent, but I found on several different occasions that she would mix up spelling for words. She used the words appropriately in their sentences, just mixed up the spelling. During a unit on political cartoons, she was given very specific instruction on how to analyze any political cartoon. While the teacher was up in the front teaching, she took excellent notes. But when it came time to use the notes in an actual assignment, she really struggled to use the vocab and to apply her notes. During the assignment, she wouldn't ask questions or clarify any instructions. She wrote down a quick answer and called it good. When I noticed her answer, I was able to help her use the vocab and head toward a more profound description. Once she explained it appropriately out loud to me, I had her write down the very sentences she had used. For another assignment, she was asked to pick a piece of contemporary art and write a paragraph using the steps of art criticism to evaluate it. Her paragraph was very factual. She had a hard time going deeper into the subject. However, when she was presenting this piece during her final exam of the semester, she was able to delve a little deeper. She had to be prompted by the person she was presenting to, but she was able to find her own thoughts besides just the facts on the work. One question on her final in particular, again referring to art criticism, required her to get up and go see one of the teachers to describe a work of art orally to her. Instead of doing this, Danny wrote about how art is pretty without even having seen the art in question. I believe this was because she didn't understand what was being asked of her, not because she didn't want to talk to the teacher. This was another example of how she wouldn't ask questions to clarify instructions. And where most of the class finished both parts of their final exam, once with their notes and once without, Danny took up until the bell to finish. This seemed promising because I could tell she was really thinking about her answers and trying to do well. However, when she finally turned it in, it was obvious that she was pretty lost. Most answers were very incorrect, with the exception of a few multiple choice. And during the third part of their test, they were able to retake it using a partner. She was partnered with her friend, and Danny definitely made the best of it. Not only did she fix almost all of her answers, but she and her friend discussed each question without just giving away the answers. Danny had many strengths, and one of those was answering questions orally. I learned that pretty quick and decided that was something I wanted to work on. I wanted her to also be able to use the notes she took and actually commit them to memory to be used during her assignments. In doing this, I thought it would go hand in hand to have her find the motivation to start the work by herself. She often had to be extra prompted to start any kind of assignment. Finally, I wanted to see if I could help in any way to have her be able to work with someone who is not just a close friend. This one was harder because it wasn't just about school, it went deeper into her social abilities than any other goal. Accomplishing this goal required a lot of attention from me. I didn't want to be there to help her with every answer, but I did want her to think a little harder than her first written idea. It worked well when I was actually there to help or when another teacher was. but the times when I left her alone and observed how she worked without stepping in were not as successful. I suspect the lack of success with this goal was because I only had her for 50 minutes in a day and no other class helped her in that way. Every time I or another teacher was there helping Danny, I made sure to open her notebook or pull out the handout to help lead to an answer. I definitely saw improvement in some areas and not as much in others. During the units on discrimination in controversial elections, her assignments reflected her notes extremely well. However, like I talked about previously during her final exam, she didn't seem to know how to use her notes at all. For every assignment, I made sure to let her start on her own. As we saw with the political cartoon, if she started heading in an incorrect or simple direction, then I would step in, refer her to her notes, and lead her in a little bit of a different direction. I never jumped in first, and I tried to encourage the other teachers to let her start her own work as well. For this goal, I was not successful. Towards the beginning of the semester, I found that she just worked better when she was working with her friends. It came down to no self-motivation when she was sitting by someone new, or decent work when she was sitting by her friend. So I dropped this goal pretty fast. I did try and bring others into our conversations or ask Danny about others in the classroom, but I didn't push her to work with others or make them her partners. I decided that these two goals are the most practical ones that can improve her grades and get her motivation up in the classroom. If she was given the chance to take tests and exams orally, she would be able to improve her grades and understand the assignments a little easier. Similarly, if she is not helped in every situation to be led to the desired answer, she will be able to use her notes better and rely on her own knowledge to get the desired answer. As soon as the students were allowed to work on their assignments in class, someone would go up and help her. This was not a bad thing necessarily because it led to perhaps a further understanding of the assignment, but it also led to her knowing someone would help her. She would often just sit there without working until someone would jump in and help. This was made obvious in several videos of people's lessons. If I were to make any changes to my plan, it would be to get every teacher on the same page and let her try for herself first. Like I said before, I thought it would be easier to just let her continue to work with her friend to help her get where we wanted her, when she should be able to, at this age, work with others. As a teacher with multiple classes, I might not be as lenient. I don't know how to show the same attention that I showed to Danny to a whole classroom of students. I want to be able to help every student in a way that will best help them to learn, but I don't think that I would have the time to do that so personally with every one of my students as I did with Danny. So in my future as a teacher, I'm going to have to figure out how to help every student as best I can.